Let's do it.
Hi, everybody. Hello, hello.
How is everyone today? I hear myself. Oh, did you? I
I
hear
just
myself.
lowered
Okay.
it. Did you hear it now? Are you good?
Let me try. Yeah, a little bit. Can you
A little
guys on
bit.
Instagram let us know if you can hear if the sound is okay or
What I can do is I can connect this guy.
Hey guys.
So that's way it does not sound at all. Here we go.
Yeah. While she's doing that, I think today's topic is so incredibly interesting and I hope we can do it justice. Thanks so much for telling us it's okay. Yeah, I hope we can do it justice because it is really, I think, going to be a huge topic in coming years. And I think we're seeing that AI is kind of infiltrating everything, every aspect of our lives. And I think there are positives and negatives. So I don't know about you. I don't know because some people are like all positive, some people are all negative. You know what I mean? Like, but I think there are positives.
I think you'd have to be kind of a little bit in denial to think that it's all positive.
Yeah.
I
I
think
agree.
you'd have to be uninformed to not see any positive because there's
Yeah.
so much positive really for like small businesses, for writing. I'm a writer and like most people are like, you love AI. I'm like, yes, because as a writer, the hardest part of writing is narrowing it down to the word allotment that you have, right? Like writers write because we have a lot to say and we enjoy writing. So AI helps us kind of start with like an outline, figure out our thoughts. It helps us, kind of streamline the research process. So I think there's so much positive and people forget. And I'm like, well, it's not writing for me. It's doing all the preliminary things that I used to do. They used to take a lot of time. And so who benefits from that? My clients, where I don't have to raise my prices for like extensive research and things. So I think it's so positive, but also like you'd have to be completely bonkers to think that there's no dark side of AI.
Oh
Because
yeah,
there
for
is
sure.
a dark side to AI.
So the study that I saw last week that kind of prompted, I just saw it last week, but it actually came out in October of 2024 that prompted us talking about this today is from the University of Cambridge. Basically, it says researchers have developed a machine learning algorithm to accurately detect heart murmurs in dogs, one of the main indicators of cardiac disease, which affects a large proportion of some smaller breeds such as King Charles Spaniels. So when I heard this, I started thinking about everything that I have been hearing in human medicine using AI. And so far, what I have been able to find as far as like veterinary medicine, most of what's being talked about in the veterinary world is using AI for like charting, for doing all of those tasks that take so long, for keeping records, that kind of thing. But I think there's so much more to it that and veterinary medicine is always kind of behind human medicine. So what we're going to see happen in human medicine will likely happen in veterinary medicine maybe a decade later, maybe quicker actually, because just as companies start to adopt AI for cutting prices, like you were just saying, like keeping costs down, it may start to happen quicker and quicker. But one of the big things that I immediately thought of was a study where they took doctors, these were human doctors, and they compared, they needed like kind of tricky diagnostics done. So like thinking outside of the box, which we talk about all the time in both
Like
human
House,
medicine.
like House, the show House.
Yes.
Yes.
Both in like human medicine and in veterinary medicine, I think just the system itself is set up to very much be like checkbox medicine. And so to actually think outside of the box, there certainly are doctors who like pride themselves on being able to do that. Most of them, though, like corporatized medicine is very, these are the symptoms, this is the diagnosis, I can't help you beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
So to have doctors actually think outside of the box to diagnose things, they took a single doctor, gave him, the paperwork of a patient. They took a group of doctors and gave them the same paperwork for that patient. And then they gave the same information to AI. And they wanted to see, um, initially, I think they were trying to test the doctors against each other because it's kind of really well known. I believe also in veterinary medicine, veterinarians act as islands, and any of them will tell you this. Like, there's a handful of them that are like, I wish it weren't like this, but most of them are. They don't like to collaborate with each other. They don't like to, send you to someone else because they operate as islands, and so I think the initial study was trying to see, like, okay, if we have a team of doctors working together, are they going to get to a correct diagnosis and are they going to get there quicker versus an individual? And they did because by the way, all of these doctors had AI available to them. And the single doctor chose not to use it because of his ego. He chose not to use it because he said he was going to be able to figure it out, right? The team of doctors did utilize it and did come up with the correct diagnosis. AI came up with the correct diagnosis much faster than anybody else.
Right.
So I think in some regard, and I bring this up, this was not in veterinary medicine, this was in human medicine, but that was where my head went. And that was why I thought this would be a good topic to talk about, because if we utilize it properly and if we are willing to utilize it, so that singular doctor was not willing to utilize it because he was all on his own. He didn't have other people to bounce ideas off of. And he just wanted to be the one to, you know what I mean? Like that
Yeah,
ego that we,
get the credit for
exactly.
solving it on his own. Look at me.
Yes. And he
I'm
got
so
it
great.
last. He was
Yeah,
like in
well,
last place.
yeah.
And so if we adopt utilizing AI technology, and just in case anybody is like, what are you talking about? Which I can't imagine anybody would be. AI being artificial intelligence, or the smart people call it AGI, artificial general intelligence. And then I just heard the other day, I don't remember if it was um, on a press conference or if it was at the World Economic Forum, because I've listened to so many things over the past week, but somebody said ASI, artificial super intelligence, which is like the computer learning from the computer kind of thing. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Right.
That scares me even more. But if we can utilize it properly, we can get correct diagnostics much quicker. It's just all about the utilization of it.
Right. Well, I mean, it's the same thing as like I don't really use Chat GPT, but people use like they create their own GPTs, they do all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the most important thing is what you're putting in. Like
Yes.
people are so
Prompt
yeah, like
engineers.
exactly. Like people are just putting in like this really basic prompt and then they're like, "Oh, AI sucks." And it's like, "No, well you didn't give AI the
Yeah.
guidance." Like imagine you were programming a robot to wash your dishes. Like you would
Mm-hmm.
have to, for every home, tell them where the dishes go, right? Like they're not going to go in the same place in every home. So if I just say to, like when I work for clients whom I write for in a local area. So if I were to ask for information on a rodeo, for example, but I'm trying to write about the Katy, Texas rodeo, and I just say, tell me about rodeos, then obviously the prompt is not good. What I want is tell me about the 2025 Katy Texas rodeo and what events and what presenters are going to be there and who's going to be competing and who's going to be performing and what night is special for kids and is it family friendly, and I can ask all those prompts and then it will give me a quality finding. But if I'm not putting in all the information, then it's going to give me something really kind of basic, really kind of an overview. And I think that that applies perfectly to any kind of medicine where it's like, we don't know enough about our patients to begin with to even prompt AI most of the time. So you would have to really do your homework as a veterinarian, as a doctor, as a nurse practitioner, dentist, even who's having some kind of issue that they don't really understand with a particular case. Like you'd have to really have really done your homework so that you could provide AI everything that they need to know. Otherwise, you're leaving out a lot of blanks, and AI, for the most part, is not set up to ask you follow-up questions. So it's not going to be like, but did you test the iron levels? Right? Like you, as a veterinarian, doctor, writer, attorney, because like, AI is being used in law so efficiently, and the productivity is going to go up so fast, because think about an attorney has to find cases and like find some kind of like supporting case that they can use as an example of something that's happened that was constitutional, was not constitutional, blah, 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 blah. AI can do that so much more quickly, and then going to a legal binder and finding all this information and skimming through it as somebody would have had to do 100 years ago. So it really is important to have all that information and then prompt AI. And my only concern is, like I take my dog in and I'm saying she's throwing up. She just randomly throws up. The vet hasn't asked me to maybe do a diary. Like, and for me, because I am a savvy pet parent, the first thing I would do is start like jotting down a calendar. She threw up on Tuesday. What did she eat? And, something's going on. I'm going to try to start kind of figuring out some kind of, I don't know, pattern, if I can find one. If not, then I know there's no pattern and I can say that. I can also say, like, there was a change in the food. The food was this old. I opened it here. I opened it then. You know what I mean? Like all these things that we would know. But like if we all know, we all go to vet appointments where it's like, when did the vomiting start? I don't know, like 3 months ago. How often is it? I don't really know, maybe, and then that's it. Like, that's it. You have like these maybe right, maybe wrong guesses off the top of your head. There's no documentation. And then there's just like, here's medication. And so that is the only, like the biggest fear that I have is it's about how much information we put into AI before we actually get a really good diagnosis. I'm assuming in the case that you're talking about, there was a significant amount of stuff provided to AI that was able to give AI. And like, that's why they all agreed, right? Because a lot had been done prior to utilizing AI so that they could know what the diagnosis was. But like, if you go in with like nothing, like I have shoulder pain. And when did it start? I don't know, Tuesday night. And like, you don't know how old I am. You don't know if I have prior injuries. You don't know if I'm diabetic. You don't know, you know what I mean? Like, you would need to know so much more. Are you a competitive athlete, for example? Like, did you play pickleball? Like, do you know what I mean? Like all these things you would need to know. And if you're not asking the questions, then AI is as good as worthless.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Well, I mean, if you're a woman, the first question they always ask you is, what was the first day of your last menstrual cycle? It doesn't matter what's going on. What was the first day of your last menstrual cycle?
And then
what are you going to do with that information other than tell me?
Exactly. And then it's
I'm not pregnant, right?
And then when I moved to Louisiana, this actually is so funny because I was in the middle of nowhere, Louisiana, military spouse. Obviously, the majority of the military members are male and their spouses are typically female. So I went to the family doctor, and most of the soldiers go to their own doctor. This was, like the care for the families was the family doctor at the hospital. And the first thing they asked me is, how long have you been in Louisiana? And how long have you been at Fort Polk? And I'm like, 3 months. And they're like, this happens a lot. You're having an adjustment disorder. And like everybody who walked out of that doctor's office walked out with Zoloft.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody. And it
Wow.
was like a running joke where it was like, we know how bad it is to live here, so here's your Zoloft. And it was almost like given as in like, you don't have to take it, but if you get desperate, here it is. And it's exactly that. Like it's like, if you're a woman, it's immediately like, what's your last menstrual period? Are you making it up? Are you depressed? Like, is there anxiety? Like, what have you eaten? Like those kinds of questions that usually like mean that they're missing the whole mark on what it
Yep.
is that's actually going on. And so many women have like autoimmune diseases that like take 5 years to figure out because nobody asked the right questions. So again, it's like back to AI, like if nobody's asking the right questions in
Yes.
the real world,
Yeah.
in the space
Well,
and time that we're in, then how do we know they're going
yes.
to be asking the right questions before entering it into AI?
Right. And it is all about the prompt. So I want to talk more about prompting because I think anybody listening can, just for their own benefit, learn a little bit about prompting maybe, and maybe you have some tips as well. But I want to kind of go through some of the things that I found that we are already using AI for in human medicine, which hopefully, we're not going to be far away, I think, in veterinary medicine.
Mm-mm.
So they are using it to they are trying to use it for more personalized medicine, which I think is very interesting because that is not that I do believe that corporatized medicine is going to adopt AI first because the structure is there, right? They already have all of this in place where the doctors are checking all the boxes, whatever the boxes are that they deem appropriate, and so they're pitching it as more personalized medicine. Of course, the most common form of cancer found in men, prostate cancer, that's where they went first. They always do, right? Whatever ails men first. So, I mean,
No
I know I
comment.
sound horrible. I know I sound horrible, but it is.
It's true.
What did I heard? It was a comedian, but like she had the term for it. It was like mis- misogynistic medicine. I don't remember the exact term, but like medical misogyny, that's what it's called. It's real, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Studies are done on men
yeah.
mostly, for
Yes.
men mostly. Um,
Mhm.
Initially it was because we didn't want to mess with the reproductive systems of women and do all the testing and ethics and stuff. But now, even when women are, done reproducing, we can't study menopause because there's still some kind of ethical issue with finding out what ails women from like age 45 plus.
Well, our hormones mess up, my air quotes, mess up their data,
Correct.
right?
Correct. How
So
dare
yeah,
our hormones be hormones?
right.
They mess up a lot more than that. I'll tell you that.
Yes. Okay, it says using computer science to process vast amounts of data, they aim to identify biomarkers, biological molecules found in blood, other body fluids, or tissue that may be able to predict how the disease will progress or how likely different treatments are to succeed. So that's kind of where they're bringing in the like personal. I don't think they're using it for like personalized diagnostics necessarily, just like, okay, this is what we have found. We have found cancer in the prostate. And
Right.
now, can computer AI models tell me, like, predict how it will progress in this
Exactly.
individual and then what treatments will work best for this individual? So,
Which is
again,
huge. That's huge.
well, it's huge. It's huge for, yeah, it can. You know what it's huge for? It's huge for insurance companies because the reality is, if it were huge for humans and animals, we would be using it for preventive care.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, we've gotten so sick that we need to address the sick care right now. We like, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like the system has
yeah,
gotten us to the point where like prevention is even like it's that vicious cycle that
it is.
happens in so many things. But it is cool that we can, instead of just being like, yes, there are cells present, we can see just how this is going to progress based on history. And of course, it's also like data in, data out. So, like, how
Yeah,
much accurate information are we putting in based on other cases? So that would be my biggest concern is, are we going to use this kind of advice on a woman when it's mostly male data this is based
Mhm.
on, you know what I mean? Or
Right.
like children, it's
It
very
is.
hard to do testing on children for the ethics. So like, are we going to assume that that data is correct for a child when really all the studies are based on, 50, 60, 80-year-old men? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and exactly. You kind of, for me, hit the nail on the head because when I was researching this, I also found that how AI, first of all, AI is mostly programmed by men because it's a very heavily male dominated field. The tech industry is
Tech in general, yeah.
so much so that, I get so frustrated with Google, with the Nest system that we have in our house. I
Hmm.
don't like I can't tell you how many times I'm like, "Get rid of this thing." It doesn't hear me. It just doesn't hear me. And so when I was researching for this, I found that it's 92% accurate at detecting a man's voice and only 69% accurate at detecting a female's voice because it's not programmed to pick up the different pitch in a woman's voice.
I'm officially outraged because I have the same system. Wow, interesting.
And
That's really interesting.
I do have a very high pitched voice. I mean, even for a female, I think I have a pretty high pitched voice. So it just doesn't, I mean, literally, I will have to stop everything I'm doing so there's no other noise around me and then speak to Google because it will, if anything is going on, if the TV is on, if I'm doing dishes, if any other noise is happening, it does not hear me.
Yeah, that makes sense. I actually have a really hard time with Google Home. I usually
Yeah.
just go to my Alexa for that same reason because I
Yeah.
feel like I'm like, go, hey Google, hey Google, hey Google, and it's like
Exactly.
not. Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, so diagnostics. Oh, they're also looking at how AI can help burnout, which we know is a huge issue in both human medicine and veterinary medicine. And then the only things that I found as far as like veterinary medicine talking about AI at all, other than that first article. Hey Diane. Other than that first article that kind of prompted this whole thing with the uh, cardiac disease, the heart murmurs, is again veterinarians. The AVMA has multiple publications
Yes.
on how can veterinary professionals
Use it.
utilize AI, and most of it is in, again, like records, keeping
Yeah,
records
in and
and keeping.
outside. There's one here, avma.org. It is the title is Artificial Intelligence Poised to Transform Veterinary Care, and it is from May of 2024. And it does say in and outside of the clinic, like we've discussed, for diagnostics, but also for like record keeping and all that stuff, billing and all that. It also
Mhm.
says AI on the farm. Veterinary researchers are also discovering ways of using AI to improve efficiencies on the farm. Dr. Gismet Kaler, an associate professor at the University of Nottingham School of Veterinary Medicine and Science in the UK, delivered a keynote address during the symposium of this particular event that they're referring to that was in April 2024, how livestock informatics can improve animal production, health, and welfare. So take a dairy operation as an example, says the article. Dr. Kaler explained that monitoring devices fitted to each cow and throughout the production facility provide real-time biological and behavioral data, such as feed intake, thermal imaging, and posture. Algorithms are constantly analyzing these inputs, flagging subtle deviations from baseline health and potentially the early stages of illness that might otherwise go unnoticed.
Yeah, I think I saw that. I think I read through that article when I was doing the research for avian influenza, and because they were talking about how they will know much
Outbreaks.
quicker if a cow, like, because they go from they're totally fine to they're sick really, really quickly with avian influenza. the particular strain that's affecting cattle, it's so quick that yeah, they were talking about those devices being able to detect it and notify. Yeah, so I think livestock ranching is definitely going to be like ahead of the curve in veterinary medicine when it comes to
What
AI.
but at what cost, right? So like
Yeah,
this just makes factory farming easier?
it does. More less interaction with humans for sure. I mean, which
Less
I guess
interactions with humans, um less controls of like the environment because like now we
yeah,
can throw more maybe in like
yeah,
one enclosure because the
yeah,
second we find out that somebody's sick, we can remove them and
yeah.
then see everybody else or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I always again, we if you've joined us for any of these conversations, I always see the bright and the dark side of things. And I try to mostly focus on the positive, but like when I read that, all I think is just like let's just abuse more animals like they were robots.
Yes,
Put these monitoring devices on them. Forget that they're sentient beings.
yes,
Forget that they have value, that their lives are of some kind of consequence, and just throw them all in like these huge facilities connected to some kind of thing with less room to move and make them miserable until it's time. The optimum time to slaughter them is like beep beep, today they go beep beep, like time to make the
yep,
meat. And it just
yeah,
I love technology. I do. Technology has made the world so much more connected in so many ways. Like I have family all over the world. Thanks to technology, I can pick up the phone and call them and see their faces, and I don't have to fly there like we used to so long ago, and not that long ago, really. And I love that. But I also love the idea of like keeping things simple and natural.
mhm.
And this is really kind of like it's in contrast, it's in conflict with my right, like with my
Yeah,
sensibilities for that kind of thing.
absolutely. Well, and I think it's just like anything else that it is the human using it that's going to make all the difference because a regenerative farmer, for example, could use the exact same technology and improve the quality of life for their herds, whereas an industrial farm can take that exact same technology and use it as a crutch to just like when you were talking about it, it made me think of like um, how we have utilized drone pilots in military because it's like a video game to them, right? So they have much less psychological trauma instead of actually being there in person to drop a bomb, right? And then you have that physical trauma of, oh my God, who did I just kill? It's a video game to somebody, right?
God,
And
you have to
it's the
be
same thing.
really disconnected from reality for that, but I mean, to each his own. But yes, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. And with technology, there's always a positive and there's always
Mhm.
a negative, right? Like I listened to a lot of stuff on AI and digital marketing and stuff just because that's what I do. And I had seen this meme going around and they were talking about it too, where it's like, I wish AI was like helping us do our dishes and our laundry rather than
Yeah,
giving us more time to do more work. Because really, what it's
exactly.
doing is we're not going to stop working as much as we do. Veterinarians, in particular, are not going to work less hours, fewer hours. They're just going to be able to do more in their workday because of AI, not less. And that's where I have a really hard time with it. It's like, when do we like stop putting such an emphasis on productivity and efficiency,
Yes.
and like we start valuing that human gift of like intuition? Because
Yeah.
when it comes to doctors, and I mentioned House, remember House, the show
Yeah.
House? If you ever
Yeah.
watched it, it was so good. If you didn't watch it, I'm sure it's available streaming somewhere. I loved it, and it was because he always had like this gut feeling about what it was and what it wasn't, and he would kind of like let his like residents figure it out and fight it out and argue it out. Um and I feel like that's one of the things about when it comes to like choosing a doctor for myself, it's like I love a young doctor because they are up to date on all the latest things. And but then I also love the old doctor who's had so many patients and they know like what they something just kind of like comes from their intuition, their gut, and they kind of just know what's up. Um, that's why I love doctors that specialize. Like I go to an endocrinologist that only specializes in females of a certain age. So like I love that because she's going to know this particular segment of the population better than others. And so when we use AI, like yes, for preliminary things, it's great. But then how about just like asking that doctor that we've all had wonderful veterinarians where you just like trust them so much and you're just like, what are you seeing here? Like, what am I
Yes.
missing? And they
Yes.
they don't need a test. They'll use a test to verify their diagnosis,
Yep.
but they don't really need it just because they like have such a savvy
Yes.
and a knowing. And so that to me is so valuable, and efficiency, productivity, and all that doesn't give us back our time. It doesn't give us time to collaborate. It doesn't give us time to call a colleague, or these veterinarians are still like in horrible situations mentally and emotionally because they can't keep up with the demand, and like AI is only going to give them more patients in a day.
Yeah. Well, if I could just be hopeful about utilizing AI, we talked at the very beginning about how so many veterinarians behave as if they're an island, right? They don't go outside of themselves for hardly anything. They don't want to refer, they don't want to ask for help. And I'm not saying I'm not trying to pick on anybody here. This is and this is obviously a generalization. But if a very savvy veterinarian could utilize AI to help them figure things out, where if they did collaborate with other veterinarians, maybe they would be figuring these things out through human connection, but instead they use AI, then maybe it could benefit the pets
Yeah.
in their care.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all, again, like you said, it's all in the way that humans use these tools. It's all in the way that we kind of we always overcorrect. I feel like we go like everybody's going to start using AI and they're going to just like completely abuse it. Like a lot of people, I do copywriting for websites, and like there are people charging people in the pet industry to rewrite the copy on their website, and all they're using is AI. So there's no human touch, there's no human warmth, and there's
Yeah,
no like true connection with the reader. And if you run it through like, any kind of AI program to like
checker,
put
yeah.
a checker of any sort, it'll tell you that it's like 100% of this page is AI. And so there are people who are going to fall for a lot of really bad like copy writing services, maybe even legal, who are going to get like really bad legal advice based on like some person who's overdoing AI. And then we'll probably get to the point where everybody's like, oh gosh, AI caused so many problems, let's back off of it for a while. And then now we're going to realize, and then we're going to just keep going back and forth. And I think that as individuals, it's really important to know how much AI is we're consuming, even, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I remember there was some discussion in a pet business group about AI, and somebody commented on Facebook, I refuse to do business with any business that's using AI. And I'm like,
Well, if they're using it properly, you're not gonna know.
well, exactly. Like, first of all, you're on Meta right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Like, you're doing, by using Meta, you're
Mhm.
technically doing business with Meta, right? Like, when we're on
Yes.
any kind of
Yes.
platform, we're doing business with whomever is getting money from the ads that we're seeing. So,
Yes.
so she's already there. And then how would you even know?
Right.
Like, you don't
Yeah.
know that the ice cream shop has their inventory being monitored by some algorithm. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you don't know that they came up with, like the schedule using an AI scheduler for
Yeah.
their ice cream servers, right? Like
Yeah.
there's AI is in so many things right now. Like I use an AI to-do list that like based on my due dates, it like tells me what my schedule is for today.
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
my business uses AI for a lot of things, and it's none of them are nefarious, right? And so
Mm-mm.
anytime you go to a grocery store, to the gas station, to any of these places, those huge corporations, to think that they're not using AI is insanity.
Oh, 100%. If there is, I mean, you are so far behind the ball as a business owner, even a small business owner, if you're not using AI already.
You're like reinventing the wheel almost. Like what's the
Yeah.
point? Like it doesn't make you smarter, better, more ethical, more integral to not use AI. It seems it really it makes you uninformed to me. Like it makes you kind of a glutton for punishment. Like if you have to analyze like, how many of your clients came from a certain zip code, why would you do that manually when you can like enter it in some kind of, reporting system, AI based reporting
Yeah.
system? You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't make any sense. It's like nobody's getting get prizes for not using AI.
Right.
Like nobody's giving out
Right.
like you're the congratulations, you're staying in like 1975. Like
Yeah.
congratulations.
Well, and to that point, somebody saying, "I don't wanna do business with any business that is utilizing AI." Wow. But, um, it all goes back to how is that individual human utilizing the AI? So if this is a business that you are already comfortable with giving your money to because you believe in what they're doing, you trust that they're sourcing, whatever your qualifications are for doing business in that niche. If you trust them to do a good job, to provide a quality product upfront to begin, like you already have been doing business with them, just because they onboard AI doesn't make them bad people all of a sudden or put out a bad product all of a
No.
sudden. It's like anything else. They say uh, that like um, it's just gonna amplify what you already are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that. I like that a lot. It really does amplify whatever you already are. I really do like the way that kind of puts things in perspective, and I really do think that anybody who thinks that AI is not everywhere is completely
Oh, it is,
like
and it has
they
been for a long time.
exactly. This is
For
we're talking about it now more than ever, but
Because we have gotten access to it finally,
yes,
right? The public
exactly.
has gotten access to it finally in the past handful of years,
Correct.
whereas prior to that, it was all huge corporations who
Correct.
had the
The
money
money,
to
right.
it, right. So that's why. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it has been utilized. I mean, if you just by, running Facebook ads, which I used to do, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, that was AI.
Manually, yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
everything they have done is a if you're using a filter on your social media, you're using AI. Like, it's we have been or, governments and corporations have been using it for a long time. We're just getting access to it. And I think, yeah, I think it like, to get back to the original point of all of the topic is today, I think, is that it's already being utilized in human medicine. It's already being utilized in veterinary medicine. Generally speaking, most veterinarians will tell you that veterinary medicine is about a decade, about 10 years, like
Behind.
behind human medicine. But I think as long as these huge corporations are going to adopt it because it's going to save them money. So I don't think it's going to take as long for
No,
AI
and
to infiltrate.
especially now with the, buyouts, corporate buyouts of veterinary clinics,
Yeah.
like Banfield has their own, tons of researchers and AI specialists working on every single part of
Mhm.
their workflow to reduce costs,
Yep.
to hand it over to AI. Then the insurance companies are going to do the same. And the more big companies gobble up the little guys, the more cost effective it is for the big guys too, right? So like now
Mhm.
I spent this much money on this AI program to do XYZ. And now I'm not only using it on 500 practices, I'm using it in 1,000 practices, but the
Mhm.
development cost me the same, right? Like it just
Yeah.
implementing this is negligible because I've already paid for that huge investment.
Mhm.
So it's only going to get more utilization as more corporate buyouts continue to happen in vet med. And there are positives, like obviously as long as they're species specific, and then we're talking about probably like a little bit of discrimination where most of that's going to go to dogs versus cats. Forget your birds and your guinea pigs, they're not going to get any love from the AI. There's no money in those, you know what I mean? So like it
Mhm.
does get like, at the end of the day, what is it? It's money. Like at the end of the day, what is AI trying to do is reduce costs and increase productivity and
Increase
efficiency.
efficiency. Yeah.
Exactly. So like, unfortunately, I do think that it'll be great for dogs and cats. I really do. Horses, maybe, depending on how much money there is. Obviously there's a lot of money in agriculture. So a lot of it will, end
Yeah.
up being utilized there, like we discussed. But again, maybe dogs more than cats.
One other thing I have a hope for, and this it may not happen, but honestly, I have a big hope for it, is you talked about creating your own GPT at the beginning of this, which I mean, I've created a GPT. It's not that hard to do,
It's
and
not.
there are services out there that will help you create a GPT. And I know one veterinarian, this is not public. It's not something that the public can go access right now. But one of the things that when I went to AHVMA, the annual event for the American Holistic Veterinary Medical Association in 2023, one of the things that a lot of the holistic veterinarians were talking about is that so many of them who are actually holistic veterinarians who have been practicing for decades with holistic medicine, they have all of this knowledge in their head and they have no one to give it to. They don't have apprentices, interns, they don't have and most of them, because they are in their 60s, 70s, some of them in their 80s, they're not really up on technology. So it's going to take somebody, hopefully smarter than me, um, that can possibly utilize AI, because I know one veterinarian who has already started doing this, literally pumping everything she knows into an AI of her. So you can, um, if it were public, you could go to that URL where that server lives and type in your question and get knowledge from a holistic veterinarian or an integrative veterinarian who has been practicing for decades. So that kind of thing, I think it would be really amazing to
Yeah.
utilize it in that way, to take what these people have been working their entire lives and careers for and not let it die.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge.
Um,
I
so
mean,
that's something that
that even makes me think of like just like the stories of our grandparents and our great
Mhm.
grandparents, right? Like we can all share whatever it is that we know about. I mean, the problem is, who's right, who's wrong. That poor holistic veterinarian would probably get like a bunch of other veterinarians being like, that's wrong.
Well, for
You know,
sure, but like
but
it
it's cool to be able to like
to
document things like,
database that
yeah,
so that other holistic veterinarians could learn from it, even good
yeah.
night, Diane. Even
I
when that
haven't been able to
person is
see any of the
gone.
comments, so I'm not saying
Oh
anything because I can't
no.
see comments. But hi and good night, Diane. Yeah, I will say that I think that I always knew this, but like I'll say that in this conversation, what kind of stands out to me is making sure that the right people with the right ethics really do utilize AI and don't shy away from it and use it in ways that are creative and that are, thinking about the future and about how things evolve and putting out all the best into the world. I know that we're talking about technology, but really intention matters, always does, always will, no matter what you're doing. And putting out like a good intention, focusing on like the good parts of AI. And, we all know so many wonderful veterinarians that are going to use it very cautiously. And maybe they're the ones who we need to kind of push a little bit. Like, no, use it. You're going to do the right thing. Don't worry. And then those that are greedy, big greedy corporations, maybe we kind of keep an eye on just how far it's going, because I just got a text. Oh my gosh, what was it? It's here on Instagram, and it's that there is AI in Microsoft Word, and I did not verify this, but it came from a digital marketer that I trust, and that there is a setting in Microsoft Word. I don't use Microsoft Word, but if you do, when you're typing your own personal Microsoft Word document, there's AI monitoring what you're writing. So your writing hasn't made it out to the world yet, and they're already reading it, right? So like as a writer,
that makes
as a
sense.
researcher, and there is a way apparently to turn it off. Like this is an option you can turn off in Microsoft Word, but that's when it gets really sketchy, right? Like if I were Dan Brown, if I were some kind of, I don't know, whatever author that you love. I can't think of any. What's his name? The one that the American guy who writes all the murder stuff. What's his name?
Like Stephen King or
Stephen King. Stephen King. I blanked on his name, but I follow him as a writer, and I don't do his genre, but I follow him as a writer. But think about it, he writes like 10,000 words a day, I think it was. And like think about Microsoft just knowing what he's writing every day.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense that they would do that because a number of years ago, they switched from where you purchased the package of, Word, Excel, whatever, and you downloaded it on your computer. And now you can't do that anymore. You have to subscribe to the annual service and get updates to it on your computer. So it's all connected.
Yeah. And the good news is, from what I read, you can turn off that option. You just don't know about it. Most people don't know about it. And it doesn't give you the opt-in. It just gives you the opt-out. And a lot of that stuff is sketchy, right? Yeah. Like that's where it gets sketchy. And that's where a lot of us honest people are like, at least let me know that you're monitoring me. Like we don't even know just how monitored we are already. But like, and something like where I'm like sharing, if I'm journaling on Microsoft Word about something traumatic, I don't want Microsoft having that information.
Yeah. Oh, well, you probably smacked me upside the head for using Google Docs for my journal then.
I don't have anything that is super secret, but I guess I'm going to have to go back to getting like, when I'm ready to write my novel, I'm just going to get like a typewriter.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Can I tell you, like I saw something. I've always been very tactile. I like writing. I like a pen and a piece of paper. But I have started in the past, I don't know, 5-6 years, like I reserve that for things that are special to me, or things that like I do keep a calendar on my desk. So like I have my week planned out and I do write that. I'm so weird. Like I have it in my digital calendar, and I have it on my desktop. And I'm so tactile. And I saw something the other day that was like, somebody had just written like, they said it so much more poetically that I'm going to say it right now, but it was basically like getting rid of the written word, like actually sitting down and writing letters to somebody is like the worst thing that we've ever done in like modern history. Like, and
getting rid of cursive. I don't even know how to print.
Oh my God.
I don't know how to print. I do not know how to print.
I love writing.
This is my notes. This is
Yeah.
my notes. I don't know how to print. And it would be so slow for me to only print. And we've gotten rid of cursive. And like the world is so different and it's
Oh,
so weird. But there's so many wonderful things. Like I would give up cursive a million times if it meant being able to FaceTime my family in Spain. That's 8 hours of,
yeah.
time difference, but I can see them face to face. And my grandmother who's here can see them and hear them and see their new babies and all that. Like, so there's so much good in that, but also you're like, my kids will never know how cursive. My kid cannot read my writing.
Yeah.
He
Isn't that
reads. He
crazy?
cannot read my writing.
Right. That's so crazy to me. But I literally dreamed last night about writing, like literally sitting down and writing a letter. When was the last time you did that? I mean, you're writing notes, but like writing a
A
letter,
letter?
like a letter to
The
someone.
last time I wrote a letter, I think was to myself at the blog. This was cool. Blog Pause retreat. I went in November to Boulder, Colorado. Blog Pause, if you don't know what Blog Pause is, if you're a creator in the pet industry of any sort, blogger, business, whatever, Blog Pause is so wonderful. And they made us write a letter to ourselves and they're going to send it to us in a year.
That's so
So
cool.
it's a really a card, and I can't remember what we wrote to ourselves, but we wrote it, put it in an envelope, sealed it, addressed it, and gave it to the Blog Pause folks. So
Wow.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
when I get it because I can't even remember what I wrote and it was just in November. But yeah, that's
Wow.
other than something like a project at a
Hmm.
retreat. No, you don't write letters. I write thank you notes, but like
Yeah.
or birthday cards for like my kids' friends, but it's like happy birthday, love you. That's it.
Right. Yeah. So, and again, that goes back to what you were saying about currently we are utilizing AI to do the creative work, when in reality, the best utilization of AI is going to be when we figure out how to get it to do all the mundane things that take up time, whatever that means for you, right? So if you're somebody who loves to garden, that's your art. You don't want your
No, I would
AI
never want
gardening
a
for you,
robot
right?
doing my gardening. No. I mean, maybe I'd tell a robot to help me garden, like dig a really big hole here so I could put this boxwood or whatever.
Right.
Um, or
Like
I
sweep the
definitely
floor, do the dishes.
definitely
Yeah.
cleaning. I would kill or die for a robot to clean up Mila's room every day. I would really that I would sell my soul to the devil to have a little robot that came in and was like, all right, let's the Barbies go here, the little tiny shoes go over there. Like 4-year-old, almost 5-year-old toys, like please, robot, make them disappear or just organize them or whatever. But like those are the things that like picking up that room realistically would take me 3 hours. Whereas a robot might be able to do it because they're not thinking. It's just like this goes here, this goes here. It might take them 25 minutes, like, and it's really that messy that the robot would need 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I agree. I love that veterinarians will be able to potentially have more one-on-one time with pet owners,
Yeah.
pet
Yeah.
parents, spend more time with the pets, interacting with them,
Or
training their teams, things like that.
or if we could utilize it in veterinary medicine to, okay, you have set an appointment, right? You've set an appointment to come in, maybe in a couple of hours because this is something that needs to be seen today, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, whatever it is. And so AI is collecting all of that data that the veterinarian is going to need. And it gives the pet parent time before the appointment to be like, okay, let me think about this. My dog threw up at 3 o'clock yesterday. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
those things. So
You mean like a
collecting that
phone
kind of
interview from a robot?
that, or even like an online, like you
Yeah,
have your own
like
or
a
your
questionnaire,
like a yes, that can pivot based on the
an algorithm. Yeah.
answers,
Yeah.
right, based on the answers that the pet parent is
Yeah.
giving
Yeah. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that survey to say, okay, it was at 3 o'clock yesterday. Was it at 3 o'clock the day before? You know what I mean? Like,
No,
because
I love that. I love that idea.
yes,
Like a preliminary, like
mhm,
a virtual visit before the actual visit. And
right,
AI
because
would handle
that
that. Mhm.
that that is a lot of, in my opinion, even these amazing veterinarians who are trying to think outside the box, they don't have the time to. right? They're not saying, okay, I need XYZ information from you that you didn't bring into this appointment, but you're not going to make an appointment to come back and see me tomorrow. By the way, I'm already booked up, right?
Yeah.
So if they could get that done.
Yeah, maybe that would be the solution, or like a Band-Aid for now of for the veterinary shortage, where, you know, like all of the well, I mean, it's kind of like what happens when we go to a regular doctor. Like when I go to the doctor, with the exception of my endocrinologist, who's amazing, I only see her. And she'll sit with with me for an hour, and I pay out of pocket because she doesn't take my insurance, and it's only $150. And I $150 for a one-on-one with a nurse practitioner, endocrinology specialist, to me is so valuable. And I get to see her whenever I can afford to and when I need to, but it's not like she makes me go all the time for this $150 consultation. But like a lot of times when I go to like my regular old doctor, the nurse comes in and asks me, what is it? And does all the interviewing. And then the doctor comes in and like verifies it. And I'm like, well, I literally just gave this, like nothing has changed in 3 minutes. And if you don't trust this, she got the information correct in the three, like standing face to face with me, then maybe, maybe let me go ahead and go directly to the AI. The AI will regurgitate what I said, and then you can come in and we won't need to extend this visit for no reason, when all I wanted to do was maybe like get a referral to, some kind of physical therapy because my knee hurts.
Yeah. Yeah. There are a lot of possibilities. Again, like you said already so many times, it's just what the human behind the AI is going to use it for.
So all we need to know is that all of the people who are good people will remain good people, no matter what AI does. And all the people who are sketchy and looking to take advantage and looking to make a buck, all those people are going to use AI in a sketchy, nefarious way, because that's who they are. So AI doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you good. It just is an extension. What did you say? I love the quote that you used.
Oh,
magnifies?
Accelerate. Yeah. It amplifies. That's why I think I said amplifies. It amplifies who you are, like alcohol.
I'm so fun then.
Me too.
Amplifies who you are. I'm literally doing a digital marketing retreat for pet sitters and dog walkers. If you're a pet sitter and dog walker, there is a virtual option. It's on February 26th, and amplifies who you are. And, you know, in our industry, as in all of them, there is a lot of digital marketing, to use AI, not to use AI. And like, honestly, I can spot AI marketing in like a heartbeat. A lot of emojis at the beginning, at the end. It's really easy to tell. And you know,
it does love its emojis.
It does. And I'm not big on emojis. Usually, I usually do like 3 emojis at the end when I'm posting just on my phone. But like if I'm like posting from my computer, I don't use emojis at all. But it does love its emojis. And a lot of people are like, you know, either overdoing the AI or not using it because they're scared. And so I love that amplifies who you are. That really is really cool. So thank you, Jessica, for that. And thank you guys for joining us for the weekly pet roundup this week. Next week, we will be back. I will be in Vegas this weekend.
Really?
Without you, without my partner in crime.
What?
I'm cheating on you. I'm cheating on you. I'm taking my sister and my mom.
Oh,
so
nice.
My sister's never been to Vegas, and she's moving back to Spain because she did her maternity leave here in the US. She's a dual citizen, so she can be in both places. But she's like ready to go back to her real life now and going back to Spain with her baby. And we're taking the baby with us. And it was so funny trying to make reservations in Vegas for dinners and stuff. And we're like kind of stuck up about what we eat and stuff, and we're like, that's not baby appropriate. I bet they don't allow babies. So my sister's like, it's not very baby friendly. I'm like, it's Vegas, what did you expect? Because one thing is they're becoming more kid friendly. I do think there are places,
I think they've been intentionally trying to do the whole like Disney-fy Vegas or whatever. I don't know what they're
Disney-fy Vegas. I love Disney, so let's do it. But yeah, my sister and my mom, we leave Friday and we come back Sunday morning. So I will be recovered, I'm sure. by Monday afternoon. And if you guys have any recommendations on what we would discuss, I'll tell you all about my trip. Hopefully it's good.
Yeah,
Um, hopefully it's good because
I hope
it's
so.
it's the three of us and a baby, but we're staying at the Bellagio. So my
I
mom, my
love the
mom,
Bellagio.
my mom forced us to go nicer than I would have liked to go, but I guess it's we're splitting it between three of us, so we could splurge a little more. But it's
Yeah.
going to be exciting because I've been to the Bellagio but never stayed there, and
Uh-huh.
I've never stayed in that part of the Strip, so I'm excited.
Yeah, it is nice to. I've only stayed there once, but like just to you decide to go to the room for the night, but you can still just chill and watch the fountains as long as you want. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and they have the conservatory and like all this
yeah, they
beautiful stuff
do.
there. So yeah,
It's
it's like
gorgeous.
I'm excited. I'm excited. And then, I will be thinking about topics for next week. But I don't know. It's already January 27th. So next time we see you guys, it'll be February. And then this Thursday, I do have an interview, live show, Covered in Pet Hair here on Instagram, YouTube, and
Yay!
Facebook. And it is with Jessica, the wonderful, hilarious lady behind You Did What with Your Wiener. And You Did What with Your Wiener is a dachshund, very specific blog to dachshunds. And I love doxies. And we're going to talk about doxies. We're going to talk about her journey as a blogger. And we're going to talk about all the things she does with her wieners.
Well, that sounds like so much fun. Tomorrow on the Pet Parenting Reset, you are going to get to listen to the incredible Rita Hogan.
Oh,
Her
love
dog,
you, Rita.
her book, The Herbal Dog, is coming out on February 4th. So there's still time to pre-order it, and it will arrive promptly on February 4th when you do that. And I can't wait for it. She's amazing. She's incredible. She's all the things. She's what did Romeo called her a
Romeo's the cat that has passed, for those who are
yes,
not
I'm trying to
aware.
remember the exact wording he used, but she's a powerful sorceress.
Yes, she is.
I
Yes.
think that's what he said. So, yes.
Well, I just want to say, Georgia W on YouTube, thank you for joining us. Thank
Yeah.
you for wishing me a good time in Vegas. And thank you for saying that you enjoyed the discussion. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. All right, guys.
So
Go
that's
ahead.
it.
Yeah. We'll talk to you next Monday.
Follow along for the week. You'll see all of our stuff that we're up to. And if you have any recommendations for topics or questions, just DM either one of us. We'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.